Hello, everybody. How you doing today? Chris Rice Killatia here, back for more PAX Online East 2021, and we're here with Matt Shaw. How you doing today?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Doing good. And then today, right now, we're going to be checking out Paint the Town Red. This has actually been on Steam Early Access since 2015, but they're about ready to release version 1 for not just Steam, but let me take a look at my notes here. Also for all the major consoles as well, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yep. Same day for coming out of early access on Steam, and then also the Nintendo Switch, the Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S, and PS4 and PS5.
So what can you tell us about this game?
Well, it's a pretty unique game in many ways, and it's got a lot of different modes about it. We have it's a At its core, it's a first-person melee combat game. With some sort of most unique element about it is the voxel-based enemies. So the all the enemies in the game, all the characters are created out of voxels, and they can be sort of dynamically dismembered and damaged. Um, which is great for hit reactions and things, but also it gives a lot of gameplay changes and advantages. So you can um, damage strong enemies by kill them off by damaging their brain and severing limbs and things like that. So it's got that in a number of levels. We're fighting human enemies in different scenarios, like a biker bar or a disco. We have arena challenges, which are more wave-based sort of survival modes that are intended to be for players that really want a challenge and want to show off their skills. But then we have what is the biggest mode in the game, which is a big roguelike mode called Beneath, and that is sort of where the story of the game takes place, and there's dozens of different enemies and hundreds of weapons and things to unlock and upgrade. So it's got a lot going on. And on the PC, we also have multiplayer and a level editor with during early access, we've had thousands of levels created on the workshop. So it's got a lot going on. But at its core, it's just a fun first-person melee game.
That's cool. Now, obviously, like I said, obviously it's been in early access since 2015. Can you tell us some of the major changes that has been happened since 2015
Sure.
and now?
Yeah. Yeah, a lot. I mean, we've had almost, I think we got 200 updates to the game in that time. A lot of them are minor, but a lot of them have added major things. When we first put it out, it had sort of two levels in it, the biker bar and the disco level. We've since added more levels, the Pirate Cove, the Western Saloon, prison, and obviously we've added the arena as well, which has uh, there's five different arena challenges that have multiple sort of waves of enemies, and then we have an endless arena mode. And as I said, we added the multiplayer at some point during those years as well, and the level editor. Um, and Beneath was really the biggest update, so that was sort of the thing that took the longest time in early access, which that's been a really big deal for us getting that out. That was sort of late 2019 when Beneath finally came out, and that's sort of the last big thing we had to add to the game. And since then, we've just been finishing it off.
Yeah, we're watching gameplay footage, and I'm noticing that it's like a really like definitely a lot of blah, but seems like a lot of fun too.
Yeah, I mean, we have a pretty cartoonish art style. Sort of the characters are all made of the sort of blocky voxels, and we sort of really go into that with the art style and having big faces, so we can have sort of big reactions from all the enemies. And keep things from getting too gory and too over the top, which just keeps it fun. But yeah, you can see, we can just sort of it's mainly about just going around having fun. Lots of really over the top gore and obviously lots of blood, which is sort of the pun of the name is paint the town red. Being that you're having these sort of bar fights, but you are essentially painting the levels red with blood. So um, but then the beneath mode, which is our roguelike mode, is quite different.
So tell us a little bit about Beneath.
Yeah, so beneath is it's a in many ways, it's similar to a lot of roguelikes or roguelites out there. But because of the gameplay style, it's very different. Initially, when we started conceiving of Beneath, a lot of what we wanted to do was, this is before games like Dead Cells or a lot of the popular roguelikes of today. We have, back then, it felt like there was a lot of these games, but none of them had, well, most of them didn't have particularly interesting gameplay. So we thought, Paint Town Red has a strong, fun sort of foundation for the combat, and if we build that, build a roguelike around that, um, that'll be quite unique and interesting, and also having a first-person epic sort of roguelike adventure like this is sort of something that hasn't been seen before, and we ended up building just a really massive game. Got sort of 6 different biomes with multiple levels, about 30 different enemies, including sort of mini bosses, and there's also 4 different boss characters. But one of the most unique things I think about it is that if you play through it in a sort of linear way, you get to the first boss and you finish it, and then there's obviously more to do, but we don't really present how to do that. So what we end up doing is having pretty complicated but doable series of events and secrets that are required to sort of discover and figure out to actually get further in the game. So we have 3 other bosses in the game, the last one being at the end of the game, that are quite difficult to find your way to and defeat. But that is sort of the goal of the game.
Look like you also unlocked Berserk mode there too.
Yeah, so the player has different powers. It just depends on the character class. We have 5 different character classes in Beneath. So as you defeat enemies, you get sort of bits of power that allow you to use these different abilities. So if I find some more enemies to fight, because I'm playing as the brawler character, I have access to Berserk, which is one of the powers we have in the scenario levels as well. Basically, it just gives you temporary ability to do a lot of damage with your punches.
Huh. Kind of reminds me of Bullet Time from Max Payne.
Yeah, similar. It slows down time, and which is actually kind of helpful in avoiding some of the these sort of projectile shots from a lot of the enemies. So, seeing this beneath me, we have all sorts of enemies. This is a minion, which is quite a weak enemy, but has a strong, powerful beam attack. The floating head will charge at you, similar to something like a lost soul from Doom, and then it's a crystal crab, which is almost like a mimic. Because there'll be crystals around that are innocuous, but sometimes they're actually a crystal crab that'll come out of the ground and attack. But because of the voxel style, we have sort of weak points that are just sort of organic. So we can cut off the legs to quickly kill a crystal crab, but if you were to attack it without a bladed weapon, it would be harder to kill. So there's sort of advantages to trying to deal with the voxels in different ways.
Now, since it was in Steam Early Access, many of the players who have played Paint the Town Red can also have their opinions talk about with the game. Have you taken those into considerations during the development as well?
Yeah, I mean that's been a really big thing for us with early access, and one of the reasons the game has taken a long time, but also the reason it's as big as it is. I mean, the big thing about early access for us, even in advance of that, is just the popularity of it very early on allowed us to really increase the scope of the game, because we knew we could afford to spend the time to build it out the way we wanted to. So there's that, and then yes, obviously we've spent a lot of time listening to feedback on Steam forums, on Discords, on Reddit, everywhere, and that's had a huge influence on us going forward. Obviously, we've had our scope, which was pretty well defined early on. Like, this is what we're going to make in early access. We wanted to stick with that, and we haven't sort of missed anything. But we've added a lot more. We've added the level editor was never planned, all the workshop content, and in particular the level editor. We continue to add more and more features. So we have a huge community of people creating levels for the games. We have, I think, over 10,000 items on the workshop now, um, where they can create levels or they can create custom textures for enemies and custom music packs and really build these sort of massive, almost like campaigns. And That's been a big deal for us. So just supporting the community in that way has been probably one of the biggest things over the years.
Okay, now obviously consoles and PC development they're kind of similar but also kind of different at the same time, especially when it comes to like the Nintendo Switch. Was there like any challenges you had to overcome between these different platforms?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, that's been again like the last sort of year of development has been a lot of it's been focused on the console releases, which it still benefits the PC version because what we've had to do is just a lot of optimization. Particularly for something like the Nintendo Switch, but also the older um, Xbox and PlayStation consoles. They have, in particular, less memory, which is a big deal because of optimizations for the voxel stuff. Obviously, a lot of games don't do this sort of thing with all these. We have dozens of voxel enemies in a level and tons and hundreds of physics objects and things like that. So a lot of our optimizations are around utilizing as much memory as we can to cache a lot of things. And on consoles, you can't really do that to the same degree. So we've had to put a lot of work in. We've done all the console development in house, and we're a team of one programmer, one artist, and one audio director. Um, so it's a lot of work for a small team, but we're also self-publishing the game, which is also a lot of work. So it's taken a lot of time, but we're very, very happy and proud of what we've achieved. The Switch version is actually really, really fun. It's a pretty solid 30 FPS throughout, and it has sort of everything every other version has, except for the console versions don't feature the multiplayer or the level editor because again, the size of our team, we couldn't really support that level of development. We couldn't handle putting multiplayer into these versions for now, but otherwise they have the full single player features of the PC version.
And obviously, the biggest release version one is going to be coming out soon. Are there plans to continue supporting it with even more content in the future as well?
One of the big things we want to do, particularly with the Steam version, is continue supporting the level editor because that's been sort of the biggest thing for players coming on looking for more content. The just the quantity of stuff being put out and the quality of it on the workshop is insane. So definitely we want to support the level editor, add more features, add more sort of ways of having interesting logic, and we have there's tons of things. Any fixes that are required, of course, we'll keep adding that. And look, anything that is important to the game. If we come up with new levels or important fixes or changes to the gameplay, we'll bring those to the consoles as well. But our focus is probably going to be mainly on supporting the community through adding more support for user-generated content and mod support, I think.
Okay, that's pretty cool. I want to thank you for giving us the time to check out Paint the Town Red, and we're looking forward to seeing more of this game in the future.
Well, thank you very much.
No problem. And keep it right here, guys, for more PAX Online East coverage. Once again, thank you very much, Matt.
Thanks.